I have slipped and fallen into the sea of this suffering life. Bless me to see that every living being, every one my own mother, has fallen into. Grant me then to practice the wish for enlightenment, to take on myself the task of freeing them all. Today, Rinpoche gave a very clear explanation of the meaning of that stanza and how it is the beginning of the presentation of the Mahayana in the source of all my good. So if everyone wants to turn in our prayer book to page 40, you should find the source of all my good, 39 or 40. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started right in the great vehicle section. So if you want to turn to page 40, we're not going to go through the recap. So we're going to start right at the last stanza on page 40, where it says, I have slipped and fallen into the sea of this suffering life. Because this is where we begin the great vehicle section of this text. So we've gone through, just translator's note, the small scope and the medium scope, and this is where the great scope actually begins, which is the Mahayana. So that's where we are in the text, and what else do I need? I think that's it.
Tene majubi sentient samalo tendrapores ne kuyu jasul hondiors longwa tendra tone roadi kuchi roana ne nyomobat shiji debal du ne kuchi Shanchu Senjun Joba Shinjilos, Oteke, Shanchu Sentengo Mare, Senjetaje, Dungel Cheto, and the Sanji Kumontuba Shawan about Shanchu Sen Marba, Shanchu Senju Dunjuma, Shinju Los, what they teaching Senji Tangadua. Rani Sisulu, Chinto, Manju, the Wakuja Tandawa, Tone. Road Kuchi, Road Sukolo, Yomo, the Shiji Debal Drew, Kochi, and the Shanchu sent the Jul Cheva Shijalo to Susachi. What the Shanchu sent in Marba?
Less so. Then the Nyomo and Shiji Deepa Kabiore.
Rani Sisulu, Majun Roakuja Tendawa. Majun Rani Sisulu, Chin to Son du. Nangaru to Kujatul Hondio. Nyomo, but she did Kujatul Hondio.
Okay, this is
Maju Senja Samat and Raboro.
Less
The tone, and the Senja Taji Sanju Tabata Taji Kumolam Gobicheto, and the Shanchu Sen. Tetabe Shanchu Sen, Julie Chabashijalo.
Less okay, Sabudu.
Seji Dengo.
Less so we begin here where we find the reliance upon the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So it says, I have slipped and fallen into the sea of this suffering life. Bless me to see that every living being, every one my own mother, has fallen into. Grant me then to practice the wish for enlightenment, to take on myself the task of freeing them all. So here we find the comparison being made between cyclic existence and an ocean. So it's saying the sea of this suffering life. So it's saying the sea of cyclic existence that I currently abide in also also holds other sentient beings who, like I suffer, suffer like I suffer. So here it's saying that like myself, who is in the ocean of cyclic existence, every living being who has been my mother is also plagued by this same cyclic existence. We are held in cyclic existence by our afflictive obstructions and the obstructions to omniscience. So it says, grant me then to practice the wish for enlightenment. So grant me the wish to be able to rely upon the mind that aspires to enlightenment, to be able to take on the task or the duty of freeing them all, of liberating all sentient beings, of bringing all sentient beings to a state of complete enlightenment. So here it's taking on the task of bringing sentient beings to a place of freedom, a place beyond suffering. So this is the meaning of this first stanza. It's recognizing our own suffering and then realizing everyone else has the same, and then wishing to become a Buddha in order to be free from those afflictive obstructions and obstructions to omniscience, and in order to be free from them and also free others from them as well. Okay, so that's it. Dikson Rinpoche. So in the prayer book we have the refuge prayer that says, I take refuge until I'm enlightened in the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Through the merit I create by practicing giving the other perfections, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. So those last two sentences, or may I attain, actually the last sentence, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings, in that prayer means exactly the same thing as this stanza, this aspiration to become a Buddha for the sake of others. Then Tambo the Semchen the Gar Simpre the Juje dang Dakshin Yangje the Seldu Yeni Tambo Cheran the Semchen Tamche. Okay, Seldu. So when achieving this mind that wishes to become a Buddha, to bring all sentient beings to a place of unsurpassable, true, complete enlightenment, is a very difficult realization to achieve, because one has to create the causes for the arisal of this actual realization. So one has to engage in the practices such as the 7-point cause and effect for realizing the mind that aspires to enlightenment and equalizing and exchanging self with others, and create many, many causes. Just once or twice it won't be possible. This is something that has to be repeatedly worked on to develop.
What that gentleman what the teaching said what my chivalry, Chemo Saji no what the Saji soon dig do.
Okay.
Teaching you will send you Kona Demba.
Lasso.
Send the Jetaji to Jane and Shubalo to Saji Soon, what the Saji to Kuzul Ten,
Lasso. Okay, so when we look at the great treatise on the stage of the path to enlightenment, and we look at the outline of it, we find that there are 3 categories under the major heading, which is called Training the Mind in the Stage of the Path for Beings of Great Capacity. So the first category in that outline is showing that developing the spirit of enlightenment, or the mind that aspires to enlightenment, is the only entrance into the Mahayana path, or the only door into the great vehicle. So that's the first. The second category is how you actually develop the spirit of enlightenment. And then the third category is what is the training once you have developed the spirit of enlightenment. So these are the 3 categories. So what one does once bodhicitta has been achieved. So that's number 3. Dikson.
Jogos tejen jogo go na so kamba yona kamba go na ru leson kamba na ru le da teba chembi wote teba chembo lo jogo go na wote sanje tres sanje jul juna an teba chembi na chu ne gre teba chembi na le ne gre shaju seba le ne gre jogos the marbe.
The literal translation of number 3 is how to learn the bodhisattva deeds after developing the spirit of enlightenment. So, what the deeds are that practitioner does, or the opportunities. I'll have to look at the Tibetan on that. But what that person does at that point. The first category, showing that developing the spirit of enlightenment is the only entrance to the Mahayana, means that in order to enter into the great vehicle, in order to become a bodhisattva, one has to develop the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So it is the entrance into that. Just like if one wishes to go into a house, you have to open the door and then go through it. Likewise, in order to be a Mahayanist, or a great vehicle practitioner, or a bodhisattva, you have to generate the mind that aspires to enlightenment in order for that to happen. That is how you enter into that. Okay, then so then category number 2 is how to develop the spirit of enlightenment. So then we find the presentation of those 2 practices that allow you to develop it. The the 7-point cause and effect for achieving or realizing the mind that aspires to enlightenment, passed down from Master Atisha, and then equalizing and exchanging self with others, passed down by Master Shantideva. And then we find the 3rd category of how to learn the bodhisattva deeds after developing the spirit of enlightenment. And these bodhisattva deeds are referring to the perfections, the 6 perfections, the 10 perfections. So that's the meaning of number 1 through 3.
What does I choose or that over there? To go in Babale, what the Sanjik to Song, Gori Babale, and then Jordan the Jacats Sai Davos, Tanji Chimbi is in there, Tiji is all a Shawai, Shanju Sensi Julie Shawai, Taji Politician by Inos, Shajaman Budage, and Bezaban taught Shana Dujele. Tanji Chembi Yeshide, Hiji Zawali Shungaris, Hiji de Shanju Sen Zawa, Tijian Zawins Lagomarbe, Hiji Zawali Shungais, Hiji Zawali Shungata, and Dodijan Katule, Ti Zawan Hijindu, what the Jashamang what the Ti Zawan Hijindus, and then Sanji was Hiji Zawali Shungas, so to Chibarendo.
And did Zawan Ninji do, did don't
Ti Zawa Shanshu Sen Zawa, Tiba Chembi Zawa, Hiji.
Okay, Te Chen Zawa, okay. It's the Gomrim, the Yanjus, the
Gomrim, Kamala Shika Gori Tombo Baba, Tamason Yoro, Gori Baba Nolio, Gori Baba, Gori Baba Nasu Shenok did what the Kalajaga did non bois, Gori Baba not do the what Gori Baba Le, and the Sanji Shana to Jil Sumbares, Taji Chembi Jene, Hiji is all Shanchu Sensi Julie Juan, Taji.
Ninji Senche Ta.
Hiji Zawali Shunga, Shanju Sen Juli Shunga, Shanju Sen Jula Dene, Nacha Togures, and then Hiji the Shanju Sen Yoba Naja Togumare, Shindul Lavures, Touch of Harudimayinos.
Lesser. Okay.
This is what I to the
Lesser. So we find in Kamala Shila's text called The Stages of Meditation. They have the small, medium, and great stages of meditation. But in this actual Stages of Meditation text, we find a quote from Lord Shakyamuni, where he's speaking with Vajrapani, and he says, Master, secrets Vajrapani, the gnosis of omniscience arises on the basis of compassion, from the cause of the mind of awakening, and from the fulfillment of method. So here it's saying the basis of compassion then causes the mind of awakening and then fulfills the method, which is actually the deeds of the 6 perfections and the 10 perfections and so forth. So it says, therefore, those who wish to obtain omniscience must train themselves in these 3, compassion, the mind of awakening, and method. And then later on it goes on to say that when the accumulations are completed, it is like holding omniscience in the palm of your hand. Therefore, since compassion is truly the root of omniscience, you should meditate on it from the beginning. So here it's showing how the root of omniscient mind of a Buddha is compassion. And then in the Mahayana Sutra Alamkara, Lord Maitreya's text, the ornament to the Mahayana Sutras, we find a statement that says, its root is great compassion. And what its is referring to there is the great vehicle, is the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So we see these similar points being made by Lord Maitreya in the Mahayana Sutra Alamkara, and then by Lord Buddha in the Vairakana Basim Bodhi Sutra, and then also in Kamala Shila's medium stages of meditation, or stages of meditation, we find this point being made of compassion being the root of omniscience. Dixon.
What that the Shanju Saint Parent is the Marba.
Shanju Saint able to do the Lamrim, the Ninji, the Sanjay, the Nyanale Deba Jogomare, the Shira Ninja able to Lamrim.
That Shanju Saint so now. Shanju Saint so now what the London to that. Shanju Saint so now got the luck of the Zuchina. Shanju Saint so now got London to what the Prebu Bugundua.
That's a
Uncle Juju the Lizida, Uncle Juju. Uncle Juju.
That's a
Uncle Juju the what the Shanju Saint apparently do.
That's a. So we also will find the benefits of the mind that aspires to enlightenment in Atisha's lamp for the path to enlightenment, and we find it presented in stanzas 13
prayer book.
In the prayer book. Jusum, the Injike Jusum, Kagi. Kagi saying Shiloka Ni, the
Shanju Saint so now got the luck of the Zuchina what the Tenma parents here do. Shanju Saint Juju.
Okay. 12, 13. Jusum.
Pidgin.
Shanchu Senji Suna.
Shanju Saint so now gone. The luck of the Zuchina. Naki Khan and Kugante, then they will have a Juros. Tashanju said, going in a Kutulo, the Angadan, the Kutu, the Metonsuna, Kutu Kaleo, the Gander.
That's so. Then Rinpoche, the Junga Kona, the Juni, Jusun, Juji, Danjo.
Oman, Tadashuluga Jindua.
Okay. So when we look at Atisha's lamp for the path to enlightenment, we find in stanza number 15 where it says, if it possessed physical form, the merit of the altruistic intention would completely fill the whole of space and exceed that. So we start to look at what the benefits of this mind that aspires to enlightenment are, and we find it presented here by Atisha, saying that if it could possess a form, the virtue, the merit of this mind that aspires to enlightenment would actually fill the whole of space and exceed even that. So that's stanza 15 in Atisha's lamp.
What the Shanju saying is so parent the Abishid, and the Shanju saying Gabu.
So if you understand what the benefits of the mind that aspires to enlightenment are, then you will have you will actually like engaging in the meditation on the mind that aspires to enlightenment if you know why it's beneficial.
What the Adija, what the Shanju saying parent you are is.
That's so.
Shanju saint so now comes. Shanju saint going in the Sona Sagro.
That's so.
Shanju saint going in the Sona Sagre.
That's so.
And Shanju saint so now gone. Tell a kid to Zuchinas.
That's so.
Shanju saint so not the Zoom is. Ketuzu Ibayinas. Ketuzu Ibayina. Naki Khan Kugante. Tene Devi Lhabanjos, Shanju Sengu Sonante, Nazu Radio Baina, and the Naki Kanyonzu Congress, Naka Kanyonzu Congress, Naka Telil Habayungres, Naka Kawaji, Nisonjimon.
So when we look at this line by line, it says, if it possessed physical form. So if the mind that aspires to enlightenment was an actual form, was an object of form, it says the merit of the altruistic intention, so the merit, the virtue created by this mind that aspires to enlightenment would completely fill the whole of space and exceed even that. So if we were to put this in a form, the entire space would be filled, but then it wouldn't be enough. We would need more space, and we could say 2 space, 3 space, 4 spaces. This is showing the vast amount of merit that's created by the mind that aspires to enlightenment.
Gangi Shimi Tanya Che, Sanji Shin and Queen Gangi, Magangi, Reshenta Gungante, Jiden Gola Puaye, Gang Tamajajete, Shanchu Dun Santuna, Chobandan Chepra Pass, Telatan Machis, Gangi Shimi Tanya, Ganga Ribe Marbe, Chu Ganga, Jagal Chu Ganga Sajura, Chu Ganga Wood Shema Yoroshima, Saint. Chu Gangi Ul Shemang Shemi Gangi Shemi Tanya Chi Sanji Shin Gangi Shemang Tandanya Ben Sanji Shinga Yoro Sanji Shina Makangi Gangi Shemang Tandanya Be and Sanji Shina Makangi Makangi and the Rinshenta Kungan the Sedan Gundan and the Kabat and the Gane and then Sajil Pubaina, Pubale, Shanju San Gongina, Sonatali Chores. What the Kale.
So then number 16 says, if someone were to fill with jewels as many Buddha fields as there are grains of sand in the Ganges to offer to the protector of the world, this would be surpassed by the gift of folding one's hands and inclining one's mind to enlightenment, for such is limitless. So here it's saying if someone were to fill all the Buddha fields with jewels, precious things, gold and silver and diamonds, and offered so many of those precious jewels and so forth, that there were as many as there are grains of sand in the Ganges River. If you were to offer that much to the protector of the world, to Lord Buddha, that amount of the amount of virtue created by doing that would be less than. This would be surpassed by the gift of folding one's hands and inclining one's mind to enlightenment, for such is limitless. Would actually be less merit than generating the mind that aspires to enlightenment. So just having that actual it's just saying it's like just that one moment of inclining your mind towards enlightenment. So just to make the clear in the English, it's not like the rest of your life with the mind that aspires to enlightenment. It's saying that just that generation of that mind, here it says inclining one's mind, or having an inclination to this mind that aspires to enlightenment, is much more virtue, a much higher virtue than even if you had been able to offer all of the jewels to the Buddha fields that would equal and exceed the number of grains of sand in the Ganges. Dixon.
What the Junin do, Junin do, Junin to the Tuna, the Abu Shebajin, and the San Yabatamba, and the Shanchu San Gabuyungurta, Parent Shigre, and the Shanchu San Gumbala Gabuyungure, Shanchu San Gungin, or the parents of the
So we find where it actually begins in this section in stanza number 12, and then goes on to where we just that last stanza. So we see it beginning with 12, and if you can understand it very well, then you'd be inclined to try to develop this mind that aspires to enlightenment, because of understanding it well and understanding its benefits.
What the Kanju Tenju to Nalulo de Nyama Kaju Saja, Glo to Shanju Sang, Penson de Dylan Son Marvete.
Less so.
Santan Shedere.
So if we look at all if we look at the pronouncements of Lord Buddha in the Kangjur and the authentic Indian commentaries in the Tanjur, and then we look at all of the different lineages of Tibetan Buddhism, if we look at the Sakya, Galupa, Kagyu, or Nyingma lineages, all would use these reasons for asserting that the generation, of the mind that aspires to enlightenment is beneficial, and why. So we would find this presented throughout the authentic Indian commentaries and the Buddha's words, and then also in all of the lineages of Tibetan Buddhism. So now we'll go to the Lamrim Chenmo. If for those of you who have it, it's probably the second volume though. Because that's where the Mahayana starts.
What Tiba Chenmo do de Lari Chenmo Payjina Nija Jachu Jaji Redisha. Tiba Chimbi Lanji Rimba Le Saint Jean Jesse Jishuba Shella. Habitudes, what is Chibuchiman, what is Irunans?
Nicha Jechu Jichi.
Nija Jachu Jachi is a Bujina.
Oh, okay. Okay, so anyone who has the text in English, we're just at the very, very beginning of the second volume. So it would be on page 12 or 13 technically. Okay.
Kundu Donwa Des Tatanama Kundu Donwa De Sabaramijo Sula Lana Koale Tree Tabatuji Tayan Tureji Better Hadubayan Maime Ja Jusebatan Yede Tuba Shurwa Yimbe Rangi Tun Mazuba Teni Jina, Jenji Tunya, Nisawa Sejins, Sanji Kuna Tijendo, Jugubena, Ludan Demba, Najine, Tomane, Teba Chimbola Juba Rites, Pashin Dubale, Jiten Tunju, Chula, Tumebe, Teba Nibutento, Ponshijin, Toje, Teba Jiji Tembala, Jempen Rochi Rajin Tadanju Che Dansa. Tatan Mangul Mangas Bonijin, Ruru Tinde Shujan Marbe. Jizun Lama Tamba Nala Shazalo, Tajirmacho, Jizun Lama Tabaso, Jizun Jambe, and Tajirmachi Lama Randawala Sotul, Shaseva in Jeroa, Lama Randawa, Jermachi Lamaro.
Lama Randawa.
Jizun Jambe, and Jizun Randawala Sotul, Shaseva in Jere, Shasalos. Tene Kui Yemi, Teater Kui Yemi, Gunatun Sana, Junin to Gumbale, Kui Yemi Nanjung Samba, Nanjung Naba Gunatun Santan, Junin Mugumba Yina Gumbale, Sibataja Mumbai, Londa Tontes, and the Kui Dongekal Mumbai, Mumbai China Tongres, Nanjung Samba Chong, Mariva. Tonde, Nyamobatan, Dungan Yawashi, Tabala Tonduji, Igundo Dons, and then Nyam koale kuyu judu nyomo ba marbe and rebel donga da ba yomo marbe jukunyu da ba rebel donga da bande le da doa nyomo ba da rebel donga da ba nyora shi taba toleje yikuno to nganyu so ba che ngres
Leso.
lan haba sun rambchela lana quality taba tojins ta labi chudin jilaba tenga jilaba shera jilaba sun de lagina and the quality taba togres taba tojins what about jujana.
Okay, Leso. So it says, respectfully, I bow down at the feet of those excellent and revered persons who have great compassion. So here, we start with an expression of worship or an expression of homage. Lama Tsongkhapa begins with paying respect to Manjushri and then also his teachers, such as Lama Randawa, the Sakya master, Lama Sakya Randawa. So here he's paying homage to those beings. And then it says, after such extended meditations on the faults of cyclic existence from various perspectives, you will see all of cyclic existence as a pit of blazing fire. So by recognizing the downfalls of cyclic existence, by engaging in meditation on the truth of origin, which is the cause of cyclic existence, and the truth of suffering, which is the result of the truth of origin, which is the actual cyclic existence itself and the sufferings contained therein. So once one looks at all of, it says, you see all cyclic existence as a pit of blazing fire. Once you have for a very, it says extended meditation. So it's for once you've done a large amount or done this for a long time. And done it, and doing what? Meditating on the faults of existence, cyclic existence, from various perspectives. So it said, once you, for a very long time, looked at various perspectives on the faults of cyclic existence, then you'll have this desire to definitely emerge. You'll have a desire to definitely get out. You'll see it as a pit of a blazing fire, which you'll want to emerge from. Then you will be completely consumed with the desire to attain and liberation. So that's renunciation, the desire to definitely emerge. The affliction, the elimination of suffering and the afflictions. So elimination of the suffering and the afflictions. So here we find the truth of suffering, and then the origin of suffering is the afflictions themselves. So if you learn the path of the three precious trainings, you will attain liberation, which is free of cyclic existence and is indeed irreversible, unlike the glory of high status within cyclic existence. So here it's saying that if you engage in the three highest higher trainings, the highest higher training in ethics, the highest higher training in concentration, the highest higher training in wisdom, then you will be able to achieve liberation. You will be able to achieve freedom or nirvana, which is not changeable, will not go back to a state of suffering, unlike the higher realms of cyclic existence that can be achieved that are temporary, that will not stay that way. Unlike the glory of high status within cyclic existence. However, your elimination of faults and attainment of good qualities will be incomplete. Thus, you will not have accomplished your own aims and can only accomplish the purpose of others in a limited way. Eventually, a Buddha will exhort you, and you will have to enter the Mahayana. Because of this, intelligent persons who enter the Mahayana from the beginning, as Aryashura says in the Compendium of the Perfections, once you have abandoned forever the two lower vehicles which possess no power to provide the welfare of the world, enter the vehicle which the conqueror Shakyamuni compassionately taught. This consists only of helping others. So here we find a quote from Aryashura, and the point being made to enter this great vehicle from the beginning, right from the start, because of the limitations of the other lower levels of spiritual realization or of attainment, lower levels of attainment. Dikson Rinpoche.
Tawad Netudraje, teaching Songrova. Netudraje, Nebetigo, the Laba Songombala Dene, Numumbe, Drajumba Tugres, Drajumba Tune Yaja, and Tabad Dune, Yaja Kual Kuya de Yomares. Tabad Yane, Yaja Kual Kuya de Yomares. They are Ringes, Haduba Maimesa, Tabatusa de Yaja. Tabad Yane, Yaja Kual Kuya de Yomares, Kual Komares, Neturaje, Drajumba, Numum Saro, Tabad Yane, Yaja Kual Kuya, Kual Yomares, my Mersa. Yuan Jun Sebatan, Yuan to Shuru in Bis, Jun Sama Sayo Mares, Jun Sama Poyo Mares, Yuan Sama Tuyo Mares. Sanji Maruta, Jun Guze Mare, Yunten Gude Mares, Jun Sebatan, Yunten Tuba Shuru Imbis, and then Jun Bombata what the Shur Nudi Madu Tashidi Bon Maruta, Jun Yumat Bontu Mare, Shuru, and then Yunten Samatu Sanji, Chamber the Temebazu to Maruta, Shuru Imbe, Rangitan Madulas, Rangitan Mazula. Teni Jena, Jenji Tuya, Nesawa Sechins, and the Rangatunda there, Chason Tuya Mares, Randun Chason Matuba Insosan, Jengatun Kabaka, Nesamatu, Jensin Taji Tunshi Tuayo Mares, Nesawa Sechins, what about Jujana? The
Tanda the I'm saying the Injike, the Dendru Junior, the Tarpa Yuna, then Malua, the Natsu, the Me Danhua, Jena, the Lua. The Yanger drove the Nason drove.
Melzina auto has and drove
the range. The
Tabatuba.
Ujang.
Tabatuna Yaja and Yaja Tabanyana Kuali Mares. La Duba Maimers. The Duzona Tabanyana Yaja Kual.
Okay.
To Kumares.
Okay, to China. So. When we look at this in detail, it says, if you learn the path of the three precious trainings, you will attain liberation, which is free of cyclic existence and is indeed irreversible. So when we look at the three different vehicles, there are the hearer's vehicle, the solitary realizer vehicle. These are Hinayana vehicles. And then we have the great vehicle, or the bodhisattva vehicle, and this is a Mahayana vehicle. So if a hearer or a solitary realizer engages in the practice of these three higher trainings and attains the state of liberation or nirvana, he or she will not enter cyclic existence again. This is not reversible. The state of nirvana is not changeable back into cyclic existence. That being, whether he or she is a hearer or a solitary realizer, has gotten rid of the afflictive obstructions. So therefore, cyclic existence cannot occur again. Unlike the glory of high status within cyclic existence. So if you're born in the higher realms of cyclic existence as a god or a human, you will have to be born again in cyclic existence. You will not, you haven't achieved some final point or some irreversible state. So any state within cyclic existence is reversible when you die, or when you're gone. So any liberation of a hearer or a solitary realizer is not. But it says, However, your elimination of faults and attainment of good qualities will be incomplete. So you've gotten rid of and eliminated the afflictive obstructions, but you still have obstructions to omniscience that are present. So it's incomplete. So you still have, even though you're in an unchangeable, irreversible state of liberation, you haven't completed all of the removal. There's still imprints of the afflictions, which are the obstructions to omniscience. It says, thus you will not have accomplished your own aims, and can only accomplish the purpose of others in a limited way. So not only haven't you completely done everything that you need to, you haven't completely eliminated all of your negativities. Not only that, you aren't really able to help others in a complete way because of the obstructions to omniscience. And it says, eventually a Buddha will exhort you. I don't think Rinpoche got to that, so that's where he stopped. So what's left over are these small kind of imprints of the afflictions, which are called the obstructions to omniscience. Even though they'll never be born into cyclic existence or have samsara again, they are still incomplete because of that presence of the obstruction to omniscience, which is the imprints of those afflictive obstructions, the residue.
tabal nyamba jana keba kaba teshu dedu shiital mundu waris shiita ana keba kaba watil tabatu sa dwa yojirota what the dwal nyamba jana keba kaba nikade naji dedu waris shiital mundu waris shiita ji shibi sila meneshi hiji sila menetans tuni dubi shiro dige koal entidade no qual nebel junje neb rugres hiji shelamne dans hiji chembo dioba ina shital mo mares hiji chiteme batule hiji chembo medan and kudo shital no na global nyaba jana keba teshu dugores
de long kaba
shebe silam ngodu je shebe silamne hiji shelamne dan ko ni ba peshi shebisi lamane shebisi tuni du shira je siba koal mane ba shegre siba koal entidad nyomo ba to kunyu nyeba marbe shebisi lamane shis koal mane ba shegres ne entidad hiji shela mane dans hiji chembe tege ne shetal mo mares shita teme netu teme da dajun da raja dajun sele hiji chembo meza anam global nyaba jana keba te hiji meza res hiji yo no de nyaba de jaga mares
So it says then eventually a Buddha will exhort you and you'll have to enter the Mahayana. So a Hinayana foe destroyer, a foe destroyer, a solitary realizer foe destroyer, enters nirvana, achieves nirvana, and then abides in a state of bliss, almost as if he or she is sleeping. So they're abiding in this nirvana in a state of bliss for many, many kalpas, many, many eons. They just abide in this blissful state by themselves. But they don't have great compassion. They don't have the mind that aspires to enlightenment. And they still have the obstructions to omniscience. So they are become attached to the bliss of nirvana. They get attached to that peaceful place. And it says that in the Abhisama Alamkara, Lord Maitreya's ornament for clear realization, maybe in the 3rd chapter, it says that the antidote for cyclic existence is wisdom realizing emptiness. The wisdom realizing emptiness is the antidote to cyclical existence. The antidote to being attached to that bliss of freedom is compassion. The ninji. So the antidote to that attachment to the bliss of freedom is compassion. Rinpoche Chutsu Jepa.
Oh, yeah.
So that's from the Abhisama Alamkara. So we'll take a short break and hand out some of these snacks and so forth.
What this do? Tanya to Dajumba, Raja Dajumba to so the Hijiman, Hiji the Shachu Sam Meza, and no Kosungoba to Tabatu Doyota, Hotel Nyabaja and Keba Keba the Dedu
Bless her.
Okonika de Naji. Tell Hanken the Sanji Matusuji Hantu Mares.
Okay.
Gobalia, Hankente, Sanji Matusuji Hantu Mares. Ta Sanji Gune, Tijan Jugubenas, Tar and the Kongobal Nyabaja de, that Chongobal Nyaba Majatan, that you Shidi Muyo Maridas, and Gobalia Lan and Shanju Senguns. Sanji Gune, Tijan Jugubenas, and the Sajin Gobalia Lana, Nikadana Yalana, that was what the Yabajan Mate, Tanachu Gapoyo Mare, Shidi Poyo Mare, Tijan Jugures, Gubinas, Luda Demba Najines, whatever Tijus and Kalinu.
So here, it's stating that it says, however, your elimination of faults and attainment of good qualities will be incomplete. Thus, you will not accomplish your own aims, and can only accomplish the purpose of others in a limited way. Eventually, a Buddha will exhort you, and you will enter the Mahayana. So, if you are a hearer or a solitary realizer, foe destroyer, and you're abiding in this bliss of nirvana, abiding in this state of liberation, you have gotten rid of the afflictive obstructions and are liberated, but there is something incomplete there. And there is no other being that can awake a foe destroyer or convey this point to a foe destroyer than a Buddha. So a Buddha actually goes to this foe destroyer who's enjoying the bliss of nirvana in meditation. It's almost like sleeping, Rinpoche says, and then states that you have not completed your path because you still have faults within your continuum. You still have the obstructions to omniscience. And in order to get rid of those, in order to complete your own aims and others, it will be necessary to enter into the Mahayana pathways. So this is in this being, this foe destroyer of the lesser vehicle of the Hinayanas system, is then encouraged by the Buddha to enter into the great vehicle.
What the Natura Dajumutu, and the Kozuka Poyo Maria, Samatoyo Maris, Tasanjiga Nyabolel Hane, and then Tijan Trigu was.
So the Buddha states that you, Hinayana, foe destroyer of the hero or the solitary realizer vehicle, have not gotten rid of all of your faults. And because of this, it's necessary to enter into the Mahayana in order to do so. You still have faults. There's still an incomplete as far as your own needs. Needs, it can be translated as aims, goals. It's really literally meaning is the translation of your meaning and others' meaning. So we've used other words, but the literal word is meaning. Like one's own meaning, it hasn't been complete or fulfilled, and one's working for others' meaning is very limited from an ability standpoint.
Ludon Demba Nachines, Ludon Demba, Sheradan Demba, Intelligent, Damune, Tijin Lugores, Juba Rides, what the Timene and Rubaina, Dajuma Tusan and Gobal Navajan, Jungapoyo Maria, Gatoyo Maris, Lasanji, Nabale Hane, Tijin Chugud was, and the Sheradan Demba Ina. Tamine, Tebachimilan, Lunaje Gures, Jugure, Juba Rites, or the Germaje.
So then it says, because of this, intelligent person should enter the Mahayana in the beginning. So as one recognizes that there are three vehicles. There's the two Hinayana vehicles. Hini in Sanskrit means smaller. Yana is vehicle. So lesser vehicle is the translation of Hinayana. So there are two Hinayana vehicles, the hearer's vehicle and the solitary realizer vehicle, and then there's one Mahayana vehicle, the Bodhisattva vehicle, or the Mahayana vehicle, it's called. And it says that if someone has a lot of wisdom and is an intelligent and recognizes that at the completion of the here and solitary realizer pathways, there are still faults, and all of the excellent qualities that being can achieve have not been achieved. Therefore, one who's wise would say, then I should start from the beginning with the great vehicle. Instead of starting, and it doesn't mean, I just want to translate this right, it doesn't mean that discarding that or those practices aren't necessary to get to Buddhahood. It's meaning like start with the intention of the Mahayana to become a Buddha. To start with the desire to end there instead of a goal to end somewhere incomplete where there are still faults and obstructions to omniscience. Geshe Arishura. Papa Pao lesso con dunju trison. Nama chiran de songchuna.
Pashin duba lema bawo ina watero ayan de wada zuen phone gan terwa.
Nye sambo pao.
Lema bawo ge pashin ga da du du ju mbare.
Lesso.
O dele sondo se ta ne gar sondo sana jiden ton ru chula thome be sa. Teje tem ne to da jong da raja da jong do le jiden ge don da ru senjen ge don da ru to yo ma ne ba yo ma res. Chula thome be teba ni bo tento bon jejins ne ne to ge teba da raja ge teba ni don te shon do yo ma re te bon ne toje teba Hinji Demba Lasa, Teba Tomanin, Teba Chamul Rogres, Tojes, Tobi Jabo, Teba Hinji Demba La, Jempen Rochi, Naji Tada Josa, Tejan Tomanin, Tejan Rogres, what the son days are. Jedansa.
Jedan.
Pashin dubal, jidun dun rusula to members, Nitu Dajumba Raja Dajumbasul, Senjang Tundashi to your mother.
Okay. So,
what did you seven daughter?
Okay, two chin.
Much loom.
So on where we find a quote from Aryashura from the Compendium of Perfections, and Aryashura the Aryadeva.
Remember, I am the other son pointing at the mother.
Aryadeva Danzu.
Middletown.
Okay.
Middletown and Jema Lumbo Chanda, I asked you a lot of mother.
Lesso.
Lumbo
Lesso. Ngay Sampa. Lopum Bao. So the Lama Ngapchu, the tree can.
Lama Ajun Debana Tende Indro.
Okay. The NGK, the Lama Ngapchupa. The Chikan. So Aryashura was someone who historically is an Indian Pandit and is from Nalanda and debated with Master Aryadeva. So we find the story of this is also called Mitidayan. And it says, once you have abandoned forever the two lower vehicles which possess no power to provide the welfare of the world, enter the vehicle which Conqueror Shakyamuni compassionately taught. This consists only of helping others. So here it's saying that once you recognize that the two lower vehicles, the hearer vehicle, the solitary realizer vehicle, those two vehicles within the Hinayana are limited because they can't provide, it says, the welfare of the world. You can't complete your own aims or or work on the needs of others in a complete way. It says no power to provide welfare of the world, like a complete welfare of the world. because there are still faults and the excellent qualities haven't all been achieved. It says, enter the vehicle which Conqueror Shakyamuni compassionately taught. So it's saying, enter that third vehicle, the Bodhisattvayana, the Mahayana vehicle. This consists of only helping others. So begin with this intention to enter in and complete the Mahayana practices once you've recognized the truths about the lower vehicles and their limitations. Dixon. Lesso. So then we find another quote from Arya Shura, and it says, and also, when people see that joy and unhappiness are like a dream, and that beings degenerate due to the faults of delusion, why would they strive for their own welfare, forsaking delight in the excellent deeds of altruism? So here it's saying that enter into the great vehicle at first, immediately, because of recognizing the lack of abilities of the lesser vehicle. So start there. Yentenchi Germa dan Drauer.
Rani Nabi Tsur Hoa Drawa Dua Naja London GB Shiraji Me Sombe Nyangawa Dan Trey Shusu Germany Ba Gondru Chua Tonas Jayu Ridan Demba Nang Jenla Sawa Mabatan Tadaki Tunto Jumba Marides Deniles Tanda de Lubin in Samarba Denile Shira Maison de Chur Chobala Shira Maison de Chobala Jiden Tundu Jayu Jerina Hijim Majibu Kanjius Hijim Kanji Tada Monse Tundu Sumotonsa or that the do to Raboson in Samara Rani Ted Rani Kui in Sarba Rani Kui Sur Sibi Sur Rani Sibi to call Hundrota Rani Sibi Sur Huatan Rawa Rani Sisul Hoa Jin to Manu to walk into the Rabotuata Rani Sisul Huan Kuala couldn't have to do any war. Tenaji, Maju Bissijak and Rabres, Hoa, Tendrawa, Tona, Duana Jang, Lando JB, Shiraji, Maison Base, Duana Jang, Lando JB, Lanja to Jashibi, Shiroyuma, Memabares, Maison Shiraji, Sombe, Nyanga dance. And then also Yanga Naji, Senji Jenda Yanga Vares, Dungan, Chaba Duji, Dungalasu, Nyon Yanga Vares, Nyanga the Tay Shusu, Nyanga the Tay Shusu Mondoasa, Nyanga the Tay Shusu, Germany Bar, Nyanga the Tay Shusu Germany ba Gondru Churwa Tones Nyangwa ta Treyu Nyangwa the Trewa the Netutan Aje Dajum was Yakachina Treyu Shusu Germany par Gondru Chua Tonas Gondru Chua Ta Netu Dajum the Raja Dajum to so Nyangwa the Treyu Kudunga Bumbi Tabatu Sarota Nyangwa the Treyu Tabatu Sara Nyangwa the Treyu Netutan Aje Shusu Germany bas Shusu Germany ba Gondru Chua Tans Chua Tonesa Netu Dajum was an Aja Dajum to Saba Inaya Jun Guzi Yuten Gunde Radio Marota Mazu Kamban to Chuden Dabres Tonas Jayu read on them, I shall choose some intelligence so Marba Jayu read on them, Jayu read on them, ne read on them, but Nam Jela Soa Mabata, Jela Soa Mabata, the dog turned to Jumba Maritas. Jayu read on them, but Tiba Chimbi Region, Tiba Chimbi read on them, Tiba Chimbi read on them, Shiro Chen, Luden them, but Naji, Jela Soa Mabata. And Timmy Dajumba to the Senior Tanjil, Niji Chamber Yomaro, Niji Chambo, Niji Meba Nishitan, and then Nizo the treasures, Timmy to the Niji Chamber Yomasuro, Nizo Mebatan, Senior Tanjil Nijim Yomaro, Niji Cham Mazan Kuzu Shatal Londruta. So Mebatan, the dog turned to Jumbo Maritas. Ludan Deba Yina, Teba Chamber Ludan Deba Yina, Domini, Netu the region to Sula, Lanlo Juju Mares, Jumba Marites, Domin teaching Land Rugures, Dama to Jabudota.
Rinpoche, the Chiranzugu, they cover your lunch. Yeah, the Kashi Lasso. Share Jimmy. Mizumbe Nyang Apa da Jewe Shosu Dro
Shusu Germany ba Gondru Chua Tonasa. What the Netu Raja to Sundi Samarba Netu Dajumba Raja Dajumba Tusaba Yina, Taji Tanshi to Mare, Kunguzi, and Gune Maro, Tangan Matu Magibo, Kamba Churchu, the Laborota. Jayu read on them, Shiro on them, Jayu read on them, Tiba Chimbi region to Demba Nam, Demba Nam, Jean La Toa Mabatan, the dog turned to some Maritas, Jean La Toa Mabatur, to Jean Hinchimbo Yomaro, Jean La Toa Mabatan, so maybe Timmy Dajumba, Netu Dajumba, Raja Dajumba, the doggy, Long Chumba. Chonda Digmar, Chumba Marites, Chonju Mares, Chumba Marite, Yatanda Damatel, Lumbo inside.
So, indicate that's true.
Tenile Shiro Maison, the Church of Allah, Jiden Ruby, Jiden Rujayu, Jiden Nasa, Tashiro Maison. The Church of Allah, so what the Netu Dajun, the Raja Dajun, Samarba, the Chobalas, Jiden Tondu Jayu, Jerry Nas, and then Jiden Tondu, and Teba Chambi Region, Ludru Temba, what to Suku, what the Netu Dajun, the Raja Dajun to Sol, Dominion Tenruju Mares,
That's how
Jerry Na, Hijimechi, Chibu, Kaji Yus. And Hiji Machi Chibukanjius, Tezula Hiji were something now. Hiji Machi Chibukanji, what the Hiji is, Hiji Kanjius.
that's how.
Tada Monse Jundu Sumons, Tada Momba say, Temed Dajumba, and Shiji Deba Bonsamarota. Momba to say, Tundu Tongurs, Tundu Sumons, Tundu Tongurs.
Lasso.
What the Shesons was, what the Lima Paul, but
Sumitson. Mon Be, the Shiji Jipa. Didag Monse Sunju the Mon the Shididipa.
Monse do the Yetu Dajong Raja Jamazuki, Shiji Deba Moba, Shiji Deba Moyamaro.
Okay.
She Deba Mabu, the Sheda Tanjil Mudu.
Oh, less.
Shiji Deba Puna, Sheda Tanji Chengrova, Segrova. Shiji Deba Mabuza Mobaro, Moba.
Lasso. Tuchena.
Monse Jundu Sumusan. Monse Sanjigo to be Chedo, Jundu Sumusan to Tongu.
Lasso.
What does one the
Okay, so then we read on. It says, when you see that beings have fallen just as you have into the ocean of cyclic existence and are stumbling, unable to walk in a safe direction because the eye of wisdom which distinguishes what to adopt and what to discard for them is closed, is it not better to care for others and to strive for their welfare, you who are in the conqueror's lineage? And then we have another quote from Arya Shura's Compendium of Perfections. Why wouldn't anyone who is in the conqueror's lineage and works for the welfare of the world have compassion for those stumbling with their eyes of wisdom closed, and joyously persevere so as to clear away such confusion? So in the Hinayana tradition, in the hearers, the solitary realizers, we don't have what is called great compassion. So that isn't present within it. Therefore, it is an incomplete part of that type of practitioner. Let's just go back to start, because Rinpoche read it twice and once, and then read it again and explained it. When you see that beings have fallen just as you have into the cycle of existence. So very, very similar to what Lama Tsongkhapa writes in this stanza. I have slipped and fallen into the sea of this suffering life. Bless me to see clearly that every living being, everyone my own mother, has fallen into. Grant me then to practice the wish for enlightenment, to take on myself the task of freeing them all. So here it's saying when you see that beings have fallen just as you have, into the ocean of existence and are stumbling, unable to walk in a safe direction because the eye of wisdom, which distinguishes what to adopt and what to discard, for them is closed. So there are these sentient beings who, like yourself, are in the ocean of cyclic existence, but they don't know how to be freed from it. So it's saying, is it not better to care for others and to strive for their welfare, you who are in the conqueror's lineage? So it's stating that you are in the lineage of the conqueror. You solitary realizer, you hearer, practitioner, are in the lineage of the conqueror, where we know these things, where these the ability to remove the obstructions to omniscience is there. Since you are in the lineage of the conqueror, wouldn't it make sense to apply the practices which will allow you to achieve your own aims as well as the aims of others, as well as take care of others, or fulfill the needs of others? And it says, and then we get the quote from Arya Shura's text that says, why wouldn't anyone who is in the conqueror's lineage and who works for the welfare of the world have compassion for those with stumbling eyes of wisdom closed, and joyously persevere so as to clear away confusion? So why wouldn't a hearer practitioner or a solitary realizer practitioner who work for the welfare of the world, is meaning to achieve liberation from cyclic existence? So this is a meaning that. So it says, why wouldn't anybody who's in the conqueror's lineage, who were the conqueror's lineage, I'm sorry, I mistranslated that. Why wouldn't anyone who is in the conqueror's lineage and who works for the welfare of the world, I just want to see if this was from Rinpoche real quick. The Lopum Pao Long Nye Triwa Yure.
Shira Maison, Reju Choba Lasa. Shira Maison, Reju Choba said the Neturan Jajumba Zero.
The Jikten Dundru, Jewe, Jerjik Na, the Dondagar.
Jiden Dundru, Jiden Shanju Samba Jiden Dundru, Sing Taji Dundru, Jayu Zero, Jerry. Shanju Samba Jayu Sanji Zero.
Okay. Less so.
상지
Okay.
야
Less so. So it says
대상주 생활 태바 쳔베리 젠소고 군도와
less so. So it says, why wouldn't anyone who is in the conqueror's lineage and who works for the welfare of the world? The conqueror's lineage is the lineage of bodhisattvas, and the lineage of bodhisattvas is a lineage of beings who work for the benefit of the whole world, work for the benefit of all sentient beings. It says, if you are from this lineage, and the lineage is of started by a being who works for the welfare of all beings, why wouldn't you then do the same? Why wouldn't you generate compassion for those stumbling with their eyes of wisdom closed? So we don't find this great compassion in the Hinayana tradition. So it's saying, if you're of the conqueror's tradition, so it's actually the Jailrik, it's the kings, it's called the kings. The king's lineage, or it says conquerors, but it's like the king's lineage, the highest lineage, and that lineage is of a being who teaches how to become a bodhisattva and how to fulfill one's own needs completely and others' needs as well. Why wouldn't you, after knowing this and then understanding suffering, have compassion for those stumbling with their eyes of wisdom closed, and joyously persevere to clear away such confusion? So here, confusion is referring to the obstructions to omniscience. It says that confusion here is referring to being confused about objects of knowledge in some way. So a being who has obstructions to omniscience still is confused because there's a barrier to omniscience. So there is still a confusion about all objects of knowledge. There isn't a complete, understanding of, there isn't a complete ability to apprehend all objects of knowledge. Therefore, there's confusion related to that. So it says, why wouldn't you then joyously persevere to clear away such confusion? That confusion can only be cleared away by the great compassion and so forth. So this is what's meant here. And it's saying, when we're speaking of the suffering that ourselves and sentient beings are enduring, we're speaking of the suffering of change, the pervasive compounded suffering. So this is what, when we speak of this ocean of suffering, the ocean of cyclic existence, these are the sufferings that have to be endured. And it's saying here, why wouldn't anybody who's in a conqueror's lineage, in the conquerors who works for the welfare of the world, have compassion for those with their eyes of wisdom closed, and joyously persevere so as to clear away such confusion, the confusion about not. So Rinpoche says that this confusion is related to objects of knowledge, but it's saying that the idea that you shouldn't is also something to be cleared away, so by joyous perseverance. So it reads like, this joyous perseverance is what is needed in order to clear away confusion about all objects of knowledge. But it also serves as an opponent to the ideas that the hearers and the solitary realizers have, that they have completed their aims and their goals. So it says, and that's it. Dixon.
Jiden Dandu Jayu, Jiden Dandu Jayu, Jiden Dandu can Yashu to Swaji Marbe.
Less.
Jiden Dandu Jayu. Jerry Nason du Sanji Gazil Kona, Sanji Gazi. Sanji Gazi, the Sage Tam Samal Euro. Sage Samal Sanji Rig Chad
Less.
Time Pasula Yore, Tijela Yorwa. And the Jiden Dandu Jayu, Jerry Nas, Sanji Gazi, the Natul Yobaina. And he's a chamber, he's a magic, Jibukansius. And he's going to need to check it. Less. He's a chamber to Jil Chibachi Ures.
Less.
Patient of daughter.
So Rinpoche was saying, we'll look back at this again. Also, you could say, why wouldn't anyone who is in the conqueror's lineage and who works for the welfare of the world? This also is stating that all sentient beings, whether they are Hinayanists, or they are Mahayanists, or note not either. Any sentient being, all sentient beings have Buddha nature, have Buddha potential. So therefore, it's saying, why wouldn't anybody who has Buddha potential engage in have compassion for those stumbling with their eyes of wisdom closed? Because we have Buddha potential, because we have Buddha nature, we can most certainly generate great compassion because of this nature that we possess. So it's saying, why wouldn't anybody who has this, which is everyone, have compassion for those with their eyes of wisdom closed, and then joyously perseveres to clear up such confusion.
다 손지가 리여바인 손손 다다 모세 준주스모 손스 다다 안에 세전 타지게 되는 가서 요모바도 시제바 모바세 체도 준주스모 손 준주종고레스 다다 모세 요모 녀디다 시딜 모발라도 모바
Rangi Zhengi. Sentient Tanche, Rangi Muba.
Rangi Maba, Sentient Tanche Maba,
Niga, okay, Niga.
Moba say,
Lesso. Okay, so then, and joyously persevere so as to clear up such confusion. So I just asked Rinpoche, is it our confusion or all sentient beings' confusion? Is it speaking in terms of that? And he's saying joyously persevere to clear away confusion that one has, which is being confused about the nature of reality, being confused about objects of knowledge, meaning not being omniscient, not being all-knowing, having confusion about something, about objects of knowledge. That needs to be cleared away for yourself, but others also have to have that confusion cleared away. So it says, and joyously persevere as to clear away such confusion. So it's speaking in different ways here. So why wouldn't anyone who is in the conqueror's lineage and works for the and who works for the welfare of the world have compassion for those stumbling with their eyes of wisdom closed? So if you have Buddha nature, why would you not create great compassion for those who have confusion, who don't have their eyes open? You should engage in a great amount of joyous effort in order to clear away those confusions, yours and theirs.
제부족의 네바 치슈데 안에 젠도 코드 쳐와드레스 젠도 산당 오레스 젠도 코드 쳐와 샤와리데사 다가데 티바 쳔부도 네바 치슈 마르바 네바 치슈 야슈로 샤주세와수 네바 치슈레 샤주세면데보 상지 네바 치슈레 균군제 연대군데데 네바 야슈데 오데 젠도 코드 쳐와스 젠그 돈다 쉐발라 때네 나샤주 삼바차버레 젠그 돈 쉐발라 때네 상진루와레 호들 산탕고레스 때네 제분나제 와든 젠바다 지비 때네 젠도 코드 쳐와라 샤와리데스 젠도 코드 쳐와데 와데 냐렌제 고레스 라게 돈잔라 메바네 돈도다야 투모이 미셔로사 라돈 장바 산다바이나 라돈 장바 도데 돈두게 산타시레스 돈두도 토모레스 젠도
오케이.
라돈 zanla 메바네 돈두타야 토모이 비셔로사 젠도 산 마탄다 라돈 장바 산다나 돈두 잡레스 테네 돈두 라데 시레스 라돈 zanla 메바네 돈두 나타야 토모이 비셔로사 젠도 코드 시다 야보레 젠도 산담 시다 야보레 젠도 산담 마담 라돈 잠바 산다나 오토 돈도 잡레 돈도 소게 라돈 산당 그레스 오테시 마르베
Lesso. Then jipu nangi dewa dang jipa dang
다요데 당 하드라드
jipa.
지금나지
Ale zunjugi jepo jipa.
제부 제부스나 제비께도 버가시바 뉴델 요가 간살고 간사 제부스야 돼 제비께도 산스다기 돌 버가러스 버가 제비께도 버가시바 뉴델 요그레스 제부스 뉴바다 대바 간사 포모가고 거론을 된 답이 제부라고 말해
Lasa.
제부나 지스 제부나 더와다 제부나 더와요레 짐바 지지다 템바 지비 네토 네 치주데 제된 코드쇼 레스 워드냐라 제우레스 라도 장바산단 나톤도 진라브레스
Lasa.
온둘레 라도 삼바요레스
Lasa.
오드스모도무데
Here, you should use a great person's joy, charisma, and strength to shoulder the responsibility of others' welfare. For focusing only on your own welfare is a trait shared even by animals. So we have this in common with animals. An animal can just think about its own welfare. So we aren't any different than an animal if we look at that quality. You should use a great person's joy, charisma, and strength to shoulder the responsibility of others' welfare. So you should work not only towards your own needs, but towards the needs of others. Work for the benefit of others, so that you are transcending or exceeding the limitations that someone like that would share with an animal. Then the jipu su. The Sanjay?
제부스 본문가 거롤된 답이 제부스는 어때 본문가 거롤된 답이 가자 말베 가자인 제부임 작은도 본문가 거롤된 답이 제부임 접해지
Then dene jipu nangi dewa.
제부 본문가 거롤된 답이 제부 가자로다 가자는 돈다 야주도 어때 제는 코드 쳐드레스 제가 돈다 두고레스 제가 돈다 두고이나 어때 네바 치주레 도와 야주레 지지다 템바레스 라데산다나 라데산단 돈루라브레스 돈루게 라데산단으로서
So here I was just asking this, use a great person. What is this? Is that great person referring to Buddha? Rinpoche is saying that someone who works for one's own welfare is the opposite of that. So someone who's self-cherishing, who works for themselves alone, who has this trait shared by the animals. It says you should use a great person. So someone who thinks of others is a great person, who and they have, because of this joy, charisma, and the strength to shoulder the responsibility of others. So it's saying you should generate this joyous perseverance, charisma, and strength to work for the sake of others. Consequently, the fundamental orientation of a great person is to focus solely on achieving the happiness, that's where it is, happiness and benefit of others. So it's a great person, a person who is a most excellent type of person, is a type of person who is engaging in things only to benefit others or for the sake of others. It says is to focus solely on achieving the happiness and benefit of others. So this is what is a mark of a great person. And then we have a quote from Chenrezig Roman's letter to his student.
추신년은 가고 동 토리스트 종주나 추라선 동으로서 가고 동 근데 제비 제도에 셔봐 좀봐 가인 봐 된디 제바인데 된디 제바인데 제바인데 알레 된디 제비 알레 제드파 Nyaman Lanchen Tajun Jua Naji Kayita
Leso.
Kolamazi Revesai Jiden Deva Kayite Radun Gamen Chenmo Naji Tendate Tada Jiden Penta de Rula Chidu Shesun
Leso.
Shesun da Dinmalonji Dango
Okay, so I'm just going to read this quote from Chandra Groman, and then it looks like we're about out of time, and Rinpoche said we're going to actually end here. So the letter to a student says, domestic animals eat a mouthful of easily found grass, and when tormented by great thirst, they happily drink water they find. Here, those who make an effort at working for the welfare of others do so out of charisma, joy, and surpassing strength. I think also do so with, I think maybe would be better, do so with charisma, joy, and surpassing strength. Or out of. The sun's great rays shine everywhere, traveling like a horse-drawn chariot. The ground supports the world without calculating the burden. Such is the nature of persons of great capacity who lack any self-interest. They are consumed by whatever brings happiness and benefits the world. So here it's speaking of this kind of self-cherishing here, where it says who lack any self-interest. So this is this is really referring to the, I think in the English, that's like that self-cherishing Randungame Chenpo Nami. Okay, so yeah, this quote is a little difficult, so let's just stop. And we'll do that later. We'll do it another time. We're going to get a different commentary and look at it in order to explain this section. Because there's so much encoded within it that you need it. So let's do the concluding prayers. Thank you everybody for listening very well. The fundamental ground is scented with incense and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the four continents, the sun and the moon. I imagine this as a Buddha land and offer it. May all sentient beings enjoy this pure realm. I dedicate whatever virtues I have collected for the benefit of the teachings and of all sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of Venerable Losang Drapa to shine forever. I send forth this jeweled mandala to you, precious Guru. I dedicate all this virtue to emulate the knowledge of the hero Manjushri and likewise Samantabhadra as well, with whatever dedication is praised as supreme by all the conquerors who traverse the three times. I also dedicate all my roots of virtue for the sake of auspicious deeds. In that pure land surrounded by snowy mountains, you are the source of all benefit and happiness. All-powerful Avalokiteshvara Tenzin Gyatso, may you stay until samsara's end. I pray for the long life of the precious Khensur Wandak, upholder of scriptural and realizational doctrines, this spiritual friend who trained extensively in the 5 great philosophical texts with exceptional wisdom and perseverance. Tuji Rinpoche Gutsi Shapi